as a CEO, if we all worked 9 to 5s, and if you haven't worked at a 9 to 5, just think about this. So the CEO, maybe at one point he did do your job. Maybe.
Probably not.
Most of the time, they have never done your job. So if you call out today, will the CEO leave their office and come sit in your seat and do your job today? Absolutely not. So why can't we think about that as being a business owner and an entrepreneur? As a CEO, is like, we don't have to do everything and keep everything to ourselves. So let me tell you what happened after we left the business. So our daughter was born. We hired an operations manager, and the very next month, we had our highest month in the business. Ever.
Crazy.
The very next month.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We released the reins. We allowed her control.
That was amazing.
And that was it.
50% of businesses fail within the first 5 years, and 38% of those businesses fail due to lack of access to capital. But 100% of business owners who are watching this aren't gonna have that issue, because I'm about to teach y'all how to bankroll your business. What's going on, family? My name is Marvin Francois, and back in 2020, I was a new entrepreneur with little to no idea on how I was gonna build my first successful business. But fast forward a couple of years later, I've been able to build multiple successful six-figure businesses by leveraging business credit. And today I want to give entrepreneurs the game on how they can do the same. So this Thursday, I'm going to be hosting my free Bankroll Your Business Masterclass, where I'm going to teach you how to go from having bad personal credit and little to no business funding to having perfect personal credit and access to a minimum of $50,000 in funding for your business. Spots are going fast and the clock is ticking. So if you haven't already, click the link above or below this video to secure your seat, and I'll see y'all on Thursday. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is the Marvin Francois Show, your number one source for all things business, finance, and investing. And today is a very special day because our guests today are the owners and founders of the Cleaning Business University. They've been featured on Good Morning America, Fox News, Black Enterprise, CNBC, Business Insider, and the Dallas Morning News. And if you're wondering why, it's because they've been able to scale their cleaning business to 7 figures while teaching other entrepreneurs who have come through their program to do the same, which has resulted in graduates from their program doing a collective $7.8 million in revenue and counting. And if that wasn't enough, they've also made TMFS history, because for the first time ever on the show, ladies and gentlemen, we got a married couple, so I got some questions. All right? Hailing from Dallas, Texas, by way of Brooklyn, New York, I'm here with the one, the only, Anthony and Joka Hartzog, a.k.a. the Hartzogs. What's going on, family? How are you?
Hello, we are good. Thank you for the introduction.
Most definitely. I had to.
Can I just add one thing?
Let's do it.
Our students have done over 10 million now.
Okay, my bad. Let me correct myself. My bad. Let me correct myself. I gotta get my numbers together. Go ahead, Sam.
I'm messing. You're good.
How are y'all, man? How's everything?
We are good
Happy
and
to be
blessed.
here.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Very excited to have you guys on. I've been following you from afar for some time now, and just learning more about your journey, what you do, and the transformation that you guys have instilled in a lot of different entrepreneurs' lives across the country with this cleaning business, right?
Yes.
I said, listen, I would be remiss if I didn't bring y'all on here to give the game on top of game to my people as well. So I'm extremely excited to get into it, right? And I know I did an okay job introducing you guys, right? But nobody knows the Hartzogs better than the Hartzogs. So for those who aren't familiar, let's get them a little bit familiar. Who exactly are Anthony and Joka Hartzog?
You start? You want me to start? Okay. So I'm gonna speak about myself, and then he can talk about himself.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So I'm Joka from Brooklyn, New York, living in Dallas, Texas for the past 7 years. We've also been married for 7 years. We have a beautiful daughter that's 18 months. I am a licensed mental health therapist, and so I'm licensed in New York and Texas, and I still work a 9 to 5. And we started out in this social media world and people knowing us from us paying off our debt. We paid off $114,000 of debt in 23 months. And we started the cleaning business without cleaning any homes while paying off the debt. So that is how we got into the entrepreneurial world. So I think that's the summary of me.
And I'm Anthony. So I was a former IT worker. I worked in information technology as a director for a firm that did technology for hedge funds and private equities. I was there for 10 years, been in IT for a total of 15 years. Left my 9 to 5 job almost 2 years ago. And it was on the cusp of the pandemic when everyone was a pandemicpreneur. And we realized that we've been doing this cleaning business thing for 7 years now successfully. So we felt like it was time for us to kind of go all in, start teaching people more of what we know, but then also focus on ourselves and our family more versus trying to build something for someone else. One thing about us, as you'll learn throughout this interview, is that we will never tell anyone to quit their jobs. Our goal is to help people have options for their lives so that they can choose to do what they want, when they want, with whoever they want. So that's us.
I love it. I love it. Now we
Mm-hmm.
going. There's a lot to unpack there, from the 114,000 to the balance in entrepreneurship and business and having the 9 to 5. We're gonna get into all that. Let's take a couple steps back, though. Obviously, like I said, this is TMFS history. I've never had a married couple on here before, right? I'm interested to know, how exactly did you guys meet? Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So, like we said, we're from Brooklyn. We're from the projects, and we lived in the same building. So
Okay.
we've known each other actually for over 20-something years.
Crazy. Okay.
So we met by, like I said, going outside, essentially. He lived on the 4th floor. I lived on the 6th floor. And we dated in high school. When he went to college, we separated, and then we got back together once I graduated college. So that was how we met each other, on the block.
Got you, on the block.
Literally
On the
block.
stoop, yeah.
What part of Brooklyn?
Near Canarsie.
Ooh, that's my hood. You know what I'm saying? Okay, very, very fantastic.
We're in Glenwood Projects, across from South Shore.
Oh, y'all was right there. I'm from. I live right by CV Park.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, for y'all who are watching, listen, this is a Brooklyn thing. It's a flossy thing. You understand?
Yeah.
But essentially, you guys met, living in the same building, started dating, and dating for how long, and then been married for how long exactly?
So we started dating. You were
Formal.
13 and I was maybe 15.
No, I think he means when we became adults. You mean from then?
I mean, you could
or-
give me the whole timeline. Give me the whole timeline.
Oh, I don't even remember back
we
then.
dated back when we was like literally in
High school.
In high school. So
Gotcha.
13 to 15.
Got you.
Around that age. And then we started dating again, probably like 24, 25.
Mhm.
Around
No, maybe 23.
24 is right next to 23.
Got you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were dating around that time.
Mhm.
And then we got engaged in 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah, so we dated for maybe about 2 years.
Dope.
And then got engaged. And then our engagement was close to 2 years.
Mhm.
And then got
Long ass
married.
engagement. Long engagement. Yeah.
Married in 2016. It was a long engagement because we were paying for it. We didn't put it
Yeah.
on cards or anything. We paid for it. Parents helped out as well, but we wanted to pay it and not have any debt. So
Right.
it was a long engagement for that. So yeah, then got married in 2016, and yeah, 7 years in.
7 years in, still
Mhm.
rocking, still rolling. Okay. So now from there, now we talk about, once again, you guys' specialty is the cleaning business, right?
Mhm.
I'm curious to know how this came to be, because in this entrepreneurial landscape, you have people that are in trucking, you have people that are in e-commerce. I'm in credit, right? That's another popular space. Cryptocurrency, the car rental space, the list goes on, right? All these very glitzy and glamorous-ish businesses. How did you guys find yourself stumbling into the cleaning business space? Where did that come from?
And let's just say, I'm gonna let him talk on it. We did do the car. We
Okay.
were doing Turo before it was a thing, if you will.
Okay.
Like we were doing it in 2016, 2017,
Mhm.
when we had just got a car. And he tried to do trucking, and I shut that down.
Why'd you shut it down? Look at him nodding slow. He's like, shit,
I'm
you
like,
did.
absolutely
It wasn't
not.
a bad idea shutting it down.
Okay.
For us, right? But the reason we were doing the cleaning business, he tried to incorporate trucking, and and we'll talk more about that. The way I see it was that trucking was similar to the cleaning business, but on a bigger scale. If someone doesn't show up to a cleaning, I can just call them and say something. If my truck is stuck in another state, I don't know what I'm going to do in that situation. So that's why we shut it down. But
Got you.
he brought the cleaning business to the family.
Yeah, so it was just me being, we were going through this debt freedom journey, and me starting to engulf myself in different avenues of entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And I literally came across a thread about, people starting local service businesses without actually doing the business side or actually doing the work. And I would just dove down this rabbit hole, and I thought the cleaning business would be ideal for us. And once I realized that we could do this without actually cleaning houses, I brought it to Joka, and she was like, no. Number one, this is our first business, and we're not cleaning any houses.
Mhm.
And why do you even want to start a business? And I'm like, why not? This is in 2017. So I said, let's just give it a shot. And we did.
Mhm.
And here we are 7 years
Mhm.
later.
Got you. Was there any mentorship going into it, or did you kind of just figure it out as you were going along? Because I know it's a big thing for a lot of people before they start certain businesses or as they're starting certain businesses. The mindset is, let me go find somebody who's already had success in this
Mhm.
space to teach me and walk me through so I can mitigate the amount of mistakes that I make.
Yeah.
How did you guys approach it going headfirst into this business?
Yeah, so back then, it wasn't the same space and landscape that we're in now, 2016, 2017.
Right.
Especially on the local service business side, because it's literally a competitive market. So we're in Dallas. So if you have a cleaning business in Dallas, you may not want to share your secrets with me.
Mm.
So it was literally me Googling, it was me asking questions, it was me kind of prying information from people. And yeah, there were forums where people were sharing, but the way they were sharing was just more of a arrogance about it. It's like, well, we're doing 100,000 a month. And it's like, well, why can't you teach me that? It's like, well, you're in the same market as me. I don't really want to tell you.
Gotcha.
So a lot of it was just us trying to figure it out, asking questions, and then finding ourselves in little pockets of knowledge with people and just kind of trial and error, honestly.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of it came
But
from.
then also, like he said, this was our first business and first time into this world. So I don't know that we even had the thought to find mentorship per
Yeah.
se.
Mm.
Not that there was someone out there, but we didn't have the thought to say like, oh, let's find someone that can help us avoid mistakes. Because one, I was already going into it like, I don't know why we even doing this, but sure, let's go ahead and do it. Because he was doing, like he said, embedded into listening to podcasts and kind of learning more about entrepreneurship and business. And I
Right.
really wasn't.
Mm.
He was just bringing the information to me.
Mhm.
So at one point, he was dragging me along until I finally got on board.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
That's our relationship right there. Is,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
when
He
it comes
brings
to-
all the
when it comes to
business
the
ideas, and I've been like,
yeah.
no.
Oh, listen, we gonna dive into all of that. But essentially, yeah. So the business officially started 2017,
17.
November 2017.
Gotcha,
Mhm.
So we're in 2023 now. So we're sitting at about like what 6-7
It's
years.
gonna be
in-
6 years in
7
November.
business.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, can you talk a little bit about because I want people to understand. We
Mhm.
bring people on that's not new to this, they true to this. Talk a little bit
Mhm.
about the success that you guys have been able to have on the service business from then up until now.
So with the cleaning business, we've hit about right now
Almost
about
2 million.
almost 2 million in revenue
Dope.
with the cleaning business without cleaning any homes.
Mhm.
And that's just mind blowing within itself
Facts.
for something that we thought would be a side thing that would help us pay off debt to
Mhm.
now being something that allows us to quit our job and travel and kind of do more with it.
Mhm.
So that has been the success of it. But I think what's even bigger just has been our students' success because they're doing it. They're hitting milestones way quicker than we did,
Mhm.
which is what we expect if we're teaching you and showing you the way. They've hit over 10 million plus. They're in over 42 states. So our students are really killing it. So if there's anything to brag about, it's about them and their success.
Gotcha.
Really. Mhm.
Because it's one thing for us to be able to do it, but it's another thing for other people to kind of replicate our success. Like when we
Right.
first started, we did about 70,000 our first year in the business for the full calendar year,
Mhm.
and now we do about 400,000 or 500,000 a year in
Right.
each year since
Mhm.
probably like the last 2 or 3
Growing.
years.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you got goodness gracious, I'm getting excited. So let's break this thing down, right? Because like I said,
Mhm.
there's so many different spaces within entrepreneurship that people can pick and choose, especially in this information age that we're living in. You got Turo, you have the short-term rental arbitrage, long-term rental, the list goes on and on. You guys are the only individuals that I know that are spearheading this cleaning business space. And I really want to unpack this thing for
Mhm.
people that aren't familiar so that we can get them familiar so that they know, okay, this is the vehicle that I want to go ahead
Right.
and jump into. This is where I want to plant my flag. So let's start from top to bottom. I want to start a cleaning business.
Mhm.
Can't have a cleaning business without cleaners. How do I go about finding cleaners for my cleaning business that I'm looking to start?
Mhm.
So wait, I want to actually go back because I know you keep mentioning like the entrepreneurship space has all these like fancy vehicles to get to your goal, and
Right.
I want people to realize that these are all just vehicles for us.
Right.
This when people say, I told the guy last night, he's like, "What do you do?" I was like, "I own a cleaning business." He's like, "Oh, he's like, all right, cool." He didn't know like what this
Yeah,
actually is.
Right.
But this is an industry that's been around for centuries. Like we're not the first cleaners.
Right.
Our parents probably cleaned somebody's home or their own home. Our grandparents, if you really go back, we were original cleaners, like
Right.
Black people. So this is not something that's going to be going away.
Right.
Like the Airbnb, like Dallas got Airbnb banned. Like this is not something that's going to be going away. Car rentals, like depends on how you run the business, but this is something that is a centuries old business. It's
Right.
not brand new.
Right.
So when we talk about cleaners, like finding cleaners, people always think about, all right, there's tons of saturation in my market. How do I find good people? If you really think about it, the essential way we run our business is we're just like a marketing agency, right? So we could find people who are already doing the job, and their biggest challenge, especially mom and pop shops, is that running the business. Most of the cleaners that you may say, well, I have somebody clean my house, I have a lady clean my house, or I have a guy clean my house. If you really think about it, they probably found you word of mouth, or someone talked about you, or something like that. They didn't have a digital presence. They didn't have a website. They don't have any marketing. They don't have any advertising. They don't have any customer service. Like there's nothing going on aside from them just doing the work.
Mhm.
So That's the bare minimum of it. Finding people who just do the work. So now, how do we do that? So we find them just by going on Google. We'll find them on Yelp. We'll find them on Thumbtack. We'll find them on Craigslist, Angie's List. And we'll just start reaching out to people and say, hey, we have a cleaning business. Would you mind us working with you to get more clients? Like just as simple as that. And who's going to say no?
Yeah.
Just open up the dialogue, you open up the conversation, and then you kind of go into logistics of it.
And the biggest thing is with the way that we run the business is that it's ran simply just how Uber and Airbnb runs, in that, Uber doesn't own any cars or Airbnb doesn't own any homes. We don't own any cleaning supplies. We just connect the person with the customer that wants the job done, essentially. So if you think about it in that way, that's exactly how we run our business. And finding people and finding good people is the biggest challenge of the business. I think in any business, finding good people is a challenge, but that's how we go about, like you said, those places, Angie's, Craigslist is how we find
Got
our
you.
people.
Now, to that point, once you find the people, are these essentially like W-2 workers that we're putting on payroll, or do we keep them strictly as just independent contractors on like a contract by contract, job by job basis?
Yes, we keep them as contractors. Most of them have their own business, their own LLC and things like that. They just want more work, right? Because it's limiting for them. If they can have 20 customers, usually their growth is through word of mouth, right? And then it ends there. They can't really get more. But if they can work with our company and another company, then they're always busy then. And so they like that. They like that side of it. So that's usually how it works.
So because they're contractors, that now leads to my next question. Does it make it that much harder to retain? Because I'm sure like once it's hard to find somebody. You find somebody, and then from there it's like, yo, this dude or this woman is killing it. Like she's absolutely holding it down for my business. But because they're not an actual employee that's within your company, what are some different things that we can do to ensure, like, obviously they're going to do other jobs, which is fine, but that we can maximize this person staying with our company for the long term in this cleaning business that we're looking to build?
I think it goes back to your vetting process. Like, how do you find them? What's the information you're sharing? The pay, they get paid pretty well. We do a 60-40 split in that they get 60% of the job.
Dope.
So it tends to be on the higher side, usually in the 30s per hour that they will get.
Okay.
So that keeps them around.
Right. I'll keep a lot of people around. Yeah.
Exactly. And then also, honestly, with the way that we treat them and let them know it's a partnership versus like you're doing what I say. And it's really something as simple, just how you treat them. We've had a lot of people just tell us like they've worked with other companies in our area and this one's yelling and being nasty and that type of stuff. And so I think that rapport keeps our contractors coming back and keeping them around. Like to the point that they're sending pictures on vacation and letting us know that we're helping them to pay for their child's dental school, like things like that.
Wow.
Like we build that rapport, and I think that keeps them around.
Yeah.
To piggyback off of that, circling back to the vetting process, right? Like you said, hiring is one of the toughest things. So you don't, it goes back to a quote that I heard by a young lady. Her name is Milan Harris. She owns a Milano de Rouge. She had a quote where she said, hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. Right. So you don't really know who you got till they end your business.
Right.
What are, given the experience that not only you guys have had, but also your students have had, right? Because I'm sure you guys are also learning things through some of your students as well. Are there any things that we could look for in the vetting process to give us a higher level of certainty in knowing like, okay, this is probably somebody that's going to come in here and do what needs to be done to make sure that my business continues to progress, whether it's amount of years they've been working or the type of jobs they've had before, things like that?
Yeah. So we have a basic qualification sheet. Some things are like, you got to have at least 2 years of paid professional cleaning experience. That's
Paid is important.
Paid professional. So they're like, oh yeah, I've been cleaning. I cleaned my mother's house. That is not.
So have I.
She could pay you, but that's not professional.
Right.
So paid professional cleaning experience. They got to have their own supplies. They got to have their own car. They got to have business liability insurance. That's a big one. If a person has that means they're taking the business seriously. That means we could be partners. That means you see yourself as a business, even if you don't have the clients, you see yourself as a business owner, and the way we're going to approach you is going to be a different type of conversation.
Right.
So those are like some of the basics. Did I miss any?
No, those are pretty much the standard. Communication would be
So that's just the qualification sheet that goes out there. So meeting these basic qualifications, and we take our hiring process as a gauntlet. It is not to find the best person, it's to weed out everybody else. Like that's our goal. We want to weed out as many people as possible. So people will go and they just won't even apply because they're like, all right, you got to meet all these qualifications. I'm like, all right, that's the goal.
Right.
So now anyone who passes those minimum qualifications, now it kind of goes like she said, communication. So how fast are you communicating with us? Are you able to use the app? Are you emailing back and forth? Or how professional are you? So we're looking at these people as trained professionals, and we're going to treat them as such in this business relationship. So once they kind of meet the basic qualifications, all right, now they set up their own interview. They're taking steps forward in this process where they're showing initiative. So all right, I'm going to email you to set up my interview. I'm going to email you to do this. I'm going to show you I got my business liability insurance. I submitted the application here. So they're showing steps that they want to be move forward in this interview process versus us. Like, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? Like, no, you show us you want to work with us. We're going to give you everything that we said we will. And then by the time we talk on the phone with them, at the very end of the process, it's like, all right, now we're asking you some basic questions. And not even just cleaning questions. We don't care about the cleaning. Because at the end of the day, you said it's a guessing game, right? So we don't really know you until you get out there.
Right.
So we're asking you questions like, here's a good one that we asked. It's like, all right, you show up to a client's home. I'm going to ask you this. You show up to a client's home.
Let's do it. Interview mode. Let's go.
Yeah.
You show up to a client's home, and the client said the key was under the mat and it's not under the mat. What do?
I reach out to the client if I have their contact information to see where the key's at.
What else do you do?
I reach out to whoever is contracting me to come do the job and let them know, like, yo, they told me it's one thing, but it's actually another. What do I do?
Is there anything else you do? I'll give you the last one.
All right. I'm sweating. All right. Here we go. I'm looking around to see.
That's
There
it.
you go.
That's it right there.
You're saying third time's the charm.
But the first thing you didn't say was, I'm going to call you guys. Because as soon as they say, I'm going to call you guys, like, all right, you're not thinking as a partner. You're thinking as a, all right, you're my boss.
You're my boss.
I'm going to call you. Call the client. Look around. Is there a flower pot? Maybe they left it.
Maybe
like,
they made a mistake.
Maybe they made a mistake. You reach out to the client. You looked under the flower pot. Like, if the first thing you say is, I'm going to call you guys, like, that's probably going to be a red flag. Because remember, we were working 9 to 5, so we can't rely on you calling us all day, every day.
Yeah.
So these are things that we started looking for and realized, all right, these are the type of people we want and type of people we don't want.
And then I think it's important I think it's a life lesson when people show you who they are, believe them. I think that's just important with hiring and being around people in general. Because I know there's times, and we tell our students as well, when you're starting out and you really need this person, so they keep doing things and you're like keeping them on because you're like, oh, I need you to do this clean. But it's going to harm you in the end.
Just like an abusive relationship. It's
Yeah,
like,
just let it go.
You just think it's going to change and it's only going to get worse.
It's only going to get worse.
It ain't.
Gotcha. So once again, right, like we're looking for these different cleaners to come in. I'm curious to know just a bit of a moment of transparency for as long as you guys have been in the space and also the students that you have. Can you think back to, and if you're comfortable sharing, that'd be great, one of the worst experiences that you've had with somebody that you hired, you thought was going to be a fit, and come to find out it was the total opposite, whether it was they wrecked somebody's home or they just decided, hey, I'm not showing up this week or whatever the case may be. Worst experience you could think of that's happened for the amount of time that you've been in the business.
And people think the showing up is the worst thing, and it's not. The not showing up, that's the easy part.
All right, talk to me about
The
that.
worst?
I'll give you the worst. I don't know.
I don't know that there's been somebody that we've dealt with that shocked us. There's about somebody, remember the couple? I told you not to hire them. He need to listen. Well, he listens to his wife all the time now.
I like to
tell the story.
Tell our people a shot.
Tell the story. Tell the story.
There.
I felt a couple, it's just early on into maybe
early.
7 months. I don't remember how long we've had the business at that point.
Okay.
But we interviewed a couple and I didn't feel it was the right fit. But they were Black and he was like, I want to give them a shot.
Yep.
That's my downfall.
And yeah, I am not I obviously support our Black people, but I don't do things just because it's a Black owned
Has to make
business,
sense.
basically. Yeah, or whatever it is. It has to make sense for me. And so I was like, I don't think, he's like, let's give him a chance, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So every time we would get feedback, the thing that the clients would lead with was, they're so nice. And we're like, okay, I think people was not telling the truth. They just keep saying they're so nice. Did they do the cleaning right or not? Like, that's what we need to hear. And one time, I think, I don't know why he went, but he ended up going to their cleaning after a cleaning person complained. He ended up going. He was like, that was horrible. Like, it wasn't done right at all. And I'm like, didn't I tell you so? Type of thing.
It was by my job. That's why.
Yeah, I think he was like, let me just pop in. And he went.
Because we don't go to any client's house.
Right.
At all.
No. And he went and he was like, it's so bad. And then we eventually let them go. And then maybe a month later, we find out that they took a client, right? They poached the client, if you will. And the client was calling to complain after he set up his own situation with them about them, that they arrived to his home smelling like weed and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, well, you're no longer our client.
Right.
And you had a connection with them. So what are we to, what do you want from us?
Right.
So that was like maybe the biggest, but that was at the beginning.
That was very early, but those are the type of things that you gotta expect in business, like using your gut. Using your gut. She's like, I don't have a good feeling. And we should have let them go a lot sooner than we did, because when you're early on, you're like, I need every client, I need all the money, I need all these people
all
working.
money ain't good.
And you don't.
Facts.
Yeah.
Now we get clients. We're like, red flag.
Nope, don't book them.
Don't book them. We get contracts like red flag. Don't do it. But when you start, you're like, I want this to work so bad versus understanding like there's going to be challenges. It may take you a little bit longer, but get the right person. But I
Right.
do
Yeah.
understand when you start business, you want to make the revenue as soon as possible.
Right. And the biggest thing I always stressed was this was our first business. So, going into any other business that we go into after that, we operate differently than what we first did then. So yeah.
Got you. For me, I'm curious to know, for those clients I was talking about, so now, what kind of personality you had that you ain't clean my crib up properly?
I'm talking about you nice.
You nice. Listen, that must have been a hell of a conversation.
It really varies with people in life. I think as a therapist, I've learned about people through this cleaning business. As a service-based business, I've learned about people too. So it really varies. There's those people that kind of, everything is great, thank you. And then when they leave, they'll call us. I guess they don't want confrontation or just don't want to say anything.
Makes sense.
They don't want to get the person in trouble.
They don't want to get the person in trouble, they
Right.
say. And we're like, they're not going to get in trouble. Like, it's okay.
Right.
Do you find that? Then you have those people that are like nitpicking everything and they send pictures and I'm like, do you see the dust in this picture? I can't see what the
take those
issue
with a
is.
grain of salt.
I can't see what the issue is here. Oh God. And so it's just different people, different personalities, I find. 'Cause I think they were doing a bare minimum. Like they were doing work. It just wasn't up to standard.
Right.
So
Got
yeah.
you. Hiring is guessing, firing is knowing, ladies and gentlemen. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So we have a framework that we can now operate with to find cleaners for our cleaning business, right?
Yeah.
But there's another essential component of this business that we need, which is we got the cleaners, now we need the jobs. And you talked about that already. So once we've established a framework that we can use to go out and find these cleaners, how do we now go about finding jobs on a consistent basis for this business?
So we market online, basically. The biggest thing I know people say there's a lot of competition. You're like, there's more people than there's companies, regardless. So wherever city you live in, there's probably maybe 2 million, 5 million people. There's maybe 40 businesses you can find on Google, if that, right? So competition doesn't matter. Finding the customers is really the easiest part of the business. We put money into, Yelp, Thumbtack, Google, those type of stuff, and that's how we market our services online.
Gotcha.
No, I was gonna say, like, when we moved to Dallas, it was just us. It was not like we had family and friends to go to. Some people may have that to start off with, but everything is just online for us.
Gotcha. You were gonna say something?
I was gonna say another part of that. I just find the clients like having good social proof. So you're like, well, when I start my business, I don't have any social proof. But it's like, all right, are there like especially if you, let's say we're in Atlanta, right, and you have friends and family, can they use your services? Can they leave you a 5-star review? Can they say you did an excellent job? Your cleans did an excellent job. So you start getting those reviews, and most of those mom and pop shops who aren't online, they have no social proof. Like I met with a cleaning company. They were in the business for like 10 years. And I was like, let's talk about your digital presence. Let's talk about your social proof. And they was like, what's that? I was like, how many reviews you have? And they was like 30. And I was like, over 10 years, you have 30 reviews?
It's crazy.
I was like, we have like over 500 reviews because we're asking for the sale, we're asking for the review, asking for the feedback, and we always want them to leave it. So these are things that you could come and start doing from the very beginning that starts ranking you above other businesses.
Yeah.
Because now you have the social proof. So when you go into Yelp and Google and you use Google My Business or like Google Local Services, your rankings start getting higher because you have more reviews, you have more social proof. So those are like some things and tips that you can use from the very beginning.
From the standpoint of, and that's good, from the standpoint of like finding these jobs and finding work, obviously when it comes to people that are looking for cleaning, I'm thinking that you have people that are coming to you with residential cleaning, and then you have people that are coming to you looking for commercial. So from the standpoint of just understanding our business model, is it a hybrid situation where we're cleaning both residential or commercial? Are we leaning more towards residential? Are we leaning more towards commercial? Could you talk a little bit about that as well?
So we primarily lean on residential. We've done commercial here and there, and we have our students that do commercial as well, but we just haven't given it the attention, if you will, right? We're not anti it at all, but I think residential was just a bit more comfortable for us starting out, and that's where we've stayed.
And a lot of things with commercial is that you really can't, they really want you for long-term contracts. So they want you there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, or you got to be there after hours. So our teams are only available Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5 to answer phones, do emails, customer service. It's like now we have to think about the overnight team, or we have to have someone physically staffed at these places. So that would be like a whole nother business model we'd have to change into if we wanted to do.
Listen, if you're an entrepreneur struggling to get funding because of your bad credit, then this video is for you. You see, I understand that when banks deny businesses for funding, they're not just denying businesses the capital they need, but they're also denying business owners the resources that they need to build the business of their dreams. And as a business owner, I've seen this happen over and over and over and over again, but I want you to know that there's a solution. Because here at Takeoff Financial, we've helped countless entrepreneurs just like you go from having poor personal credit and not being able to access funding to having perfect personal credit that they were able to leverage to access 5 to 6 figures in funding, and we want you to be the next one. So click the link above or below this video to secure your free consultation, and we'll see you on the other side of success, family.
Going to the contract side, even though you're leaning more towards residential, in my mind, ideally, you would want like some type of retainer set up with somebody, because like you said, after you've gotten 1 or 2 cleanings done for a specific client, if you've done a great job, you're going to probably need this cleaning again every other week or every other month, whatever the case may be. So even though we're leaning more towards the residential side, are we also setting up contracts to these individuals like, hey, Ms. Johnson, look, we've knocked it out the park for you. Let's go ahead and set something up to where we'll give you a 6-month package or a 12-month package. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we got 2 clients specifically who've paid us over $100,000, just 2 clients.
Crazy.
So this is Mary and this is Tom, which sounds like very generic names. That's their names. Mary and Tom have paid us over $100,000, and we clean their house every single week for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
It's $200
More
every
than
single
that,
week.
yeah.
That you know is coming in.
Every single week.
Right.
So if you got 2 Mary and Tom, look at their names.
If you can get 10.
Imagine if you get 10. Imagine if you get 20. So there are things that we know when clients come on board, let's say you want a one-time cleaning. Most of the people who want a long-term recurring clean, they're going to do it from the very beginning. Like, I want to set up weekly services with you. But there are things that we do to try to get them on board again. So we offer them incentives. So we clean you once. Let's say we did a fantastic job. And you were like, hey, you did a fantastic job. We're going to say, hey, would you like to be on the schedule again for the upcoming week so that we can offer you a 10, 20% discount because it's week after week. So your house is not going to be as dirty as it was the first time. So we could give you that money back because we didn't got time back at this point. So we're going to offer you that recurring discount as an incentive. And then also we're doing things like free upgrades, refrigerator cleaner, inside window cleaning, maybe some decluttering. So there are things that we do to upsell them into recurring services. But the people who want it, they'll be on the schedule.
Got you. So like you said, you guys lean more towards residential. And I'm assuming most of your students also lean more towards residential as well.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, do you have like a target, even though you have a target market in sense of, okay, we're mainly cleaning like houses that people actually live in. Do you have a target audience in the sense of over the course of our X amount of years being in business, we know that person A that's between the ages of 20 to 30 that
Just
has
an
wife,
avatar.
kid. Basically your avatar, right?
Yep.
You guys have a clear-cut avatar, whether it's yourself or that majority of you and your students have seen that offer the best, create the best for your business and your cleaning business as a whole?
I think it's usually the millennials are usually the ones booking services online. You got to think about that, right? Because we're online. So yes, my mom could Google it, but she ain't gonna book me on. She's like, I ain't know how to use my card, you know. So they'll call in. The busy parents, moms, they're the ones calling in as well. So I find that millennials are one that's using because they want to see the price and book online right away. Like I don't want to talk to anybody. If I can see what I need to see and our website provides that, then I'm good to go. And I put my card down, you're going to show up, you're going to remind me, perfect, come.
There you go.
That's what we want in life. So I find that the millennials are the ones that that do that the most.
Gotcha.
And another thing is that with like Mary, she's not a millennial at all. She's
not.
an older lady.
How's she?
But she had found us through Thumbtack.
She
we
found-
were marketing on that platform.
I was just trying to pull up the schedule today. So we got 10 cleanings today, right?
Let's get into it. Come on. Talk to me.
And I'm saying this because we have 10 cleanings today. And most of the people that we serve, we have one of the higher priced cleaning services because of our social proof.
Right.
So we feel like every time you get, like, let's say, you do about 20 more reviews, your price should be going up because you're proving the quality of your services.
Year after year.
And year after year. So you're proving the quality of your services. And now people are going to be willing to pay more. So our demographic, just by that alone, is going to start to shift because our prices are a little bit higher now. They're a little bit more like, all right, I want to pay for my time. I mean, I don't have the ability to go out and try to find 20, 30 people to do this. So there are things that we do to kind of put ourselves in a different market as well.
Got you. I see you just pulled your calendar up, which actually was a great segue to my next question. When we talk about systems, right? Every business needs its systems. What are some of the different systems, the different softwares, the different operations that you guys have in place to make the day-to-day running of your business that other people can use in their cleaning business as effective and as efficient as possible?
So I'll just start with just communication platforms. So
Let's do it.
we use Basecamp for our team. So we have a virtual assistant and we have an operations manager. We communicate all day. Well, not we don't, but they communicate all day, every day there. So they're also answering their phones. For the phones, we use like Grasshopper. You can use RingCentral, you can use Grasshopper, you can use any voice over IP service for phone systems. And those things are beneficial to you because you can answer the phone from your computer. You work at a 9 to 5, you can see, or your phone. You can I can have phone calls come to my phone, which I don't, but you can use a voice over IP service. That's just the communication side. On the CRM side, there are different ones that you can use. Launch 27, you can use Booking Koala, you can use ZenMaid, and that's for the back-end platform for the actual managing of the customer. So your payments, the dates, the schedules, the reminders, the emails, they handle all of that stuff. So that's Booking Koala, Launch 27, ZenMaid, there's tons out there. And then also we use Yelp, we use Google Local Services, we use Google My Business, and we use Gusto to pay ourselves, and that's really in our teams.
That's pretty much it. Which now kind of also segues to another question I had, which was, obviously we're here right now. It's Atlanta, right? But obviously you guys are in Dallas. The company is in Dallas, correct?
Yeah.
Y'all not there, right? Y'all are here, but the business is still going. You just told me you got 10 cleanings rocking and rolling right now. How long, what's that process look like from when you start to as you're growing the business to be going from like being super hands-on to getting to a place where you're not as hands-on? I won't say full-fledged hands-off, right? Because you still have to oversee and delegate and things of that nature. What did that process look like for you? And on average, what does it look like for some of your students as well coming into the business?
So I think it depends on you and what you have going on, right? So we became, I know you asked about gradually, but we became fully hands-off when our baby came.
Okay.
We're like a month before, we're like, all right, it's time to get operations manager in place. We need not to be involved at all. And that was between year 5 to 6, right? Did it need to take so long? Absolutely not, right? So I think month 7 is when we started to get a virtual assistant just to answer the phone. Because at that point, it was like we were both working. And if we're losing calls, we're losing money.
Facts.
So we needed to at least do that. Now they're just answering the calls. We may deal with we're still dealing with the contractors hitting us up if they had an issue. And then gradually we hired a virtual assistant company to then take care of like, all right, call the company if there's an issue and they'll transfer the information to us. And then gradually we're like, okay, now we need an operations manager to kind of handle that, to the point that we meet with the operations manager an hour a week. And so we don't.
And they're doing everything.
They do everything.
Gotcha.
And we also have before we've brought in virtual assistants to work with our company now too. So we have 2 of those, and then her, and then it's us. So,
but it took us
a while, 5 or 6 years to do that.
Right.
But it doesn't need to take that long. I think we were
not.
just holding on to it because we were like, a lot of times you think, well, nobody's gonna get to understand. How do I train them? All these things, and it's like, it ain't that deep. Like,
Gotcha.
They can understand. You can teach somebody to do what you're doing.
Was that why it was so hard and took so long for you guys to bring people in? Because that's a problem I think most entrepreneurs deal with, right? Like, your business is your baby, right? So naturally, we all come in thinking nobody else is going to be able to do what I do as good as me, and we try and wear 15 different hats. But on the flip side, it's like you can only do that for so long before to where it gets to the point where you're actually hurting your business more than you're helping it, right? So was that the biggest reason for why it took so long for you guys, where it's like, I don't know, you're second guessing it?
It was, I think a lot of it was just us being fearful that nobody could do it like us. And I think a lot of, even the cleaning companies we work with, mom and pop shops, they don't ever grow because they have to have their hands on everything. It's like, no one can clean like me. That's an absolute lie, because you're not that good, number one. But it was like, they feel like no one could do it. And if you have you have to have a CEO mindset where, as a CEO, if we all worked 9 to 5s, and if you haven't worked at a 9 to 5, just think about this. So the CEO, maybe at one point he did do your job. Maybe.
Probably not.
Most of the time, they have never done your job. So if you call out today, will the CEO leave their office and come sit in your seat and do your job today? Absolutely not. So why can't we think about that as being a business owner and an entrepreneur? As a CEO, it's like, we don't have to do everything and keep everything to ourselves. So let me tell you what happened after we left the business. So our daughter was born. We hired an operations manager, and the very next month, we had our highest month in the business.
Ever.
Ever.
Crazy.
The very next month.
Crazy.
we released the reins. We allowed her control,
That was amazing.
and that was it.
And it's been
But
up.
it didn't have to take us 5 years to get there.
No.
We were just so afraid. This is our first business. No one can do it like us.
And then I think also it's two of us, so we kind of like, all right, you can handle it. If you can't handle it, I can handle it. It ain't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
We can manage it. And so that played into it also.
Yeah,
But now, any business, I'm like, okay, we putting somebody in place to when? Because
Right.
the point of a business is for you not to work the way you were working at a 9 to 5, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not supposed to. Yes, you're involved, but
Mhm.
not to that point. You
Right.
can work on other tasks.
Right.
So yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, and once again, like I said, I think that's a message. Somebody needed to hear that, right? Because there's somebody that's like, I don't have to do everything in my business. Like,
You
bro, no,
don't.
you actually don't, right? And to
Mhm.
your point, the fact that literally a month after getting just one person in, then resulted in your the highest grossing month at that point in time.
yeah.
At that point,
Crazy.
yeah. So last year, she was born February 28th. So March or April.
Crazy.
And that was
Right.
like,
Last
I think we did 60,000 that month.
Crazy.
And it was like, we didn't have to wait that long to, not even just the revenue that we did that month, just the time back.
Mhm.
It's like, we're only meeting 1 hour a week.
Mhm.
And that's only because like, I still want to meet with you. And at some point we may just scale that up a little bit more, just kind of see what's happening and help
Right.
her get the help that she needs. But aside from that, it's like, it just took us too long to get there.
Took too long to
And
get.
it was
Yeah.
just, I think a lot of it was just fear.
I'm curious to know, 2020, that's when the pandemic happened, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
How did that affect the business? Because for me, cleaning is a need-based business. Like everybody needs something clean, right?
Mhm.
So for me, it's like, all right, either your business took a little bit of a slump, or I was probably, some of the best performing months that you guys have had. Talk to me a little bit about whether it was you, whether your students, what that experience was like as we were navigating through that.
So at that time, we didn't have students, by the way.
Oh, okay, got you.
So no, at that early point of COVID, we didn't have students. But yes, the numbers went down. But we lived in Dallas, and so Texas didn't keep stuff closed for too long. Let's be clear.
Got you.
So we're closed in March. I think they was back open in May.
Mhm.
So yes, business slowed down. We took a dip, but 2-3 months later, we went back up in May. So it was a dip for 2 months. But it also was considered what was it called?
Essential business.
Essential business. Cleaning was considered an essential business,
Yeah.
so you could still be in the roads and doing things. And I know a lot of people thought, well, I would assume you guys were doing COVID cleanings type of thing, because that became a
A thing.
trending thing. And we're like, one, we work with contractors, so I don't know what you have, like
Right.
supplies wise. Two, what is a COVID cleaning? What does
They were
that
just
mean,
making
really?
it up at that point.
It really meant you're just kind of spraying things down, like in a big motion. So yeah, we took a plunge for maybe about 2-3 months, but that just meant like we paused our virtual assistant stuff. We paused, like we're like, we can answer the phones because they ain't ringing much really.
Facts.
And the way that it works with contractors, they only get paid when they do jobs. So we weren't losing money in any shape or form. Yeah, that was really it.
Yeah. And then one of the things we did was, once they gave us the green light for being essential workers, we turned our marketing back on.
Yeah.
So we turned it
Yeah,
off
lowered it
when
down.
they was like nobody could work in March.
Mhm.
In April, we turned our marketing back on. And I don't know if it was this article. It was either Louis Vuitton or Gucci or something. And one of the worst things they did during the pandemic was turn their marketing off, like their ads and everything off. And it was Louis Vuitton, one of those big companies. They was competing against each other, and they turned their marketing off during the pandemic. And so they haven't been able to catch up since. But one of the things we did was we turned the marketing down, and then we turned it back up during the pandemic. So once we realized that, I think we had right after we turned it back up, we had like a $50,000 month. And we were like, okay, we got something here. We're still going strong. The business is still growing. And that's when we said, okay, we can start teaching people this stuff. We started hopping on live and started just sharing the game. But that was one of the shifts we made.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to switch gears here because, like I said in the introduction, this is TMFS history. I've had married men on here. I've had married women on here, but I've never had
A
both.
married couple.
Never at the same time.
That's Anthony's thing. He feels like we should do almost everything together because he's just
It's
like
beautiful.
yes, it's beautiful. Okay. But outside of that, he's just like, I feel like we're just so much more powerful together.
100%.
And yes, there's couples that operate together. He's like, but there's not a lot. So we can stand out in that way as well. So
Right. Different perspectives. I'm more of a,
That's true.
let's go get to work, let's do it. And she's like, I don't know if we need to do that right now.
So now
Like
let's
trucking.
So watch this, right? Let's talk about that then, because what I've come to realize in my experience in just seeing how the best partnerships work, whether it's in business or it's platonic, romantic, whatever it may be, it's usually when you have two individuals that come together and their skill sets are your strengths are the other person's respective weaknesses and vice versa. So for you two, I'm curious to know, what are your complementary strengths that fill his weaknesses, and what are your strengths that fill her weaknesses as well?
And that's the biggest thing that we say of how we're able to work as business partners. What you just said, knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
So for me, my weaknesses would be the technology and anything with that. And he's
Okay.
an IT guy, so it works out perfectly.
Gotcha.
One, I don't really have the patience to learn it.
Mhm.
I probably can, but I just don't have the patience. And I'm like, oh, he knows it, so why do I even bother?
Mhm.
And then the other part of it, my strength would be being a people person and taking that part on. So when we were running the business, he would handle the website and any technical issues, stuff like that. I would handle all the contractors and angry customers. Because he would be like, all right, so you want your money back? Fine, I'll send it back. That's him.
What are we talking about here?
And I'm like, wait. First of all, I ain't sending nobody their money back. You ain't getting a full reimbursement. But let's find out what the issue is. And so that's how we kind of operate, with me being more of the people person. And I wouldn't say behind the scenes, but just more of the technology.
Gotcha.
So,
And then I'm more of a dreamer as well. Like I have ideas.
Visionary.
Or visionary.
Yeah.
I'm a visionary. And she's more of a realist. It's like we say, like the trucking example was me being a visionary. Like, all right, we could do this trucking thing. She's like, well,
because we just did the cleaning business.
we just did the cleaning business. Like, we could do this trucking thing. She's like, well, how about we just focus on the cleaning business a little bit more? Not the worst idea.
Right.
So I think me being a visionary, I have so many ideas, and I think it takes that person not bringing you back to reality, but also just making you think about it a little bit more.
Right.
So we had the cleaning business idea. It was like, she was like, I was like, let's do this. She's like, well, I'm not really sure. And if it was like, if I really want to do it, I'm going to flesh it out some more, probably bring it up a few more times, with kind of have an agenda for what this looks like. And we have a conversation and dialogue, and now it makes sense to do it. So
Yeah.
I think that's our strengths and weaknesses there.
And he always says that if he was single, he would either be really broke or really rich.
Really? Talk
Yeah.
about that. What do you mean by that?
So I think I would try any and everything.
Yeah.
I would be the guy that tried any and everything. So I feel like everything I do is going to be gold. But I would say the reason I say I'd be really rich or really poor is because something's going to hit, or I'm going to try everything and nothing's going to hit. I'm just going to run through my money.
Gotcha.
So this is where that balance comes into play.
Essentially, she's kind of help you to kind of come in and just keep you grounded in the sense of like, you're like, yo, let's do 58 different things. And then, Janoka's like, let's do this one thing. And then
Yeah,
see
it was
how
like,
work out.
I want to do Airbnb. I want to do trucking. We tried the car rental thing for a little bit, and
We did do that for a while. That helped us to pay off the car.
yeah,
We
we
did
literally
that for
had a 2014 Q50 hybrid sport. Loved it.
Mhm.
Put it on Turo. We paid it off in a year. That was during our debt freedom journey.
Yeah. And then we got another car, did the same thing until we had to run up on somebody at their job. And so we stopped doing it.
It's like, let's dive into this cleaning business thing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Family, listen, you could have saw this interview early and ad-free if you became a member of my Patreon. Not only that, but you could have also saw behind the scenes footage that's only available to my Patreon community. So what are you waiting for? Listen, head over to patreon.com/The Marvin Francois Show for early and ad-free content on all things credit, real estate, trucking, Turo, you name it, we got it. That's patreon.com/The Marvin Francois Show. But back to the interview.
So then from there, not only are you guys a married couple, but you're also parents as well, right? So you're essentially juggling three hats. You have the entrepreneurial hat, you have the married couple hat, and then you have the mom and dad hat. What is that?
And husband and wife.
No,
separate hat.
Wait, I said the married couple hat. So
You did. Okay, sorry.
So the married couple hat, the entrepreneurial hat, and then the parent, the mom and dad hat. I'm curious to know what that balance looks like, because off camera we was talking a little bit about, just how you guys manage running the business, and then also making sure that family is still ingratiated in everything that you do. Talk a little bit about that balance, because there are a lot of people, I think for you guys, what's dope is a lot of what you guys are using to drive the business and essentially act as your why for why you guys are doing the cleaning business is a lot of other entrepreneurs, like, I don't know, right? So there are a lot of people that are married and do have kids, and they're like, that's the reason why I'm not going to start a business. But for y'all, it's like, what is that supposed to, like, I'm still going to go out here and do what I need to do. How do you juggle all three of those hats?
I think delegation is important for us.
Okay.
Like, for example, when we got pregnant, we hired a doula, which I don't know if you know what that is,
I
but
kind of know. You can explain.
Well, she's like a support person for you
Gotcha.
during this process, right?
Pregnancy coach.
A pregnancy coach, if you will.
Okay.
She can advocate for you and things like that in the hospital, that type of stuff. Not necessarily, I still had a birth in the hospital. It doesn't have to be a natural thing. But we hired that because we're big on gaining knowledge, right? So people be like, well, we've been having babies for years. You don't need someone to teach you knowledge. But if someone can, why not? Like, why would I be surprised if this happens? Why not get knowledge? We hired that. And then after the baby was born, we had like a night nurse. After that, we have a nanny. And so we do delegate things out to help us function and make things work. We aren't under, like, we're fine. We're good asking for help. And we know that we need it to do things and get things done. And so I think that's a big part of us being able to do everything that we do. And on top of, you just got to get it done. Like, it just has to happen. Like, we would be recording a podcast at 9 o'clock at night. Do I want to be there at 9 o'clock at night? No. But I got to do it. I got to put the podcast out. So I got to do it. Those are the two ways I would say that we balance it.
And then, like you just said, where you could use those as a reason why something needs to be done. Like, I'm married, so I have to do this. I have a daughter. I have to do this. I have a family. I have to do this. Or it could be an excuse. I have a family. I can't do that right now. I got a kid. Really not the good time.
Different tone.
I really can't do this. So I was talking to a young lady, and first thing she said was like, I'm a single mom. And I said, was that the reason or the excuse you're saying that?
Like, why are you telling me this?
I was like, why are you telling me? I said, I just thought you should know. I was like, would you tell me because that's the reason you're going to do this thing? Or are you saying that as an excuse? And she's like, oh, okay.
I don't know. I didn't think about it like that.
But she was saying it as an excuse as to why she couldn't do something. And she never said that. But I said, you telling me that just lets me know that you wanted to say that for me to take pity on you, to be sympathetic to your situation.
Tread lightly.
And I was like, that should be the reason why you want to do something. That should be the reason you want to change your life or your dynamic. And for us, we do everything together. Like, we do these podcasts together. We do our businesses together. We have Alani doing everything with us. So I'm not going to be that husband that's always out there grinding for the family. All the money we make is for the family, but you're never with the family. Like, when we came here today, somebody was like, Anthony, you got your family? Somebody else answered, Anthony will go nowhere without his family. So that's how I want it to be as we continue to grow and scale no matter what we're doing. So
that's beautiful.
And then the balance is, there is no balance.
That's what he said.
There's seasons. There's seasons where we got to focus on us. There's seasons where we got to focus on Alani. There's seasons where we got to focus on the business. And a lot of times we got to figure it all out.
I love it. So essentially, it really just all comes back to perspective, right? Like you said, you have some people that they're using it as reasons, other people that are using it as excuses. And that's just one chapter of y'all's story. I want to dive into another one as well, and I want to make sure I get this number right. $114,151. Does that number sound familiar?
That's the exact number.
That's familiar.
Like
that
28
is
cents or something like that.
Listen, at that point, once you see the comma, the cents and all that stuff is arbitrary. $114,151 in debt.
Yeah.
I got questions. First off, what did this debt consist of? Can y'all break it down for me? Just like a rough breakdown of it all.
We can break down everything.
The main thing was my graduate program at Hofstra, $70,000.
Got you.
Student loans. That's look at that.
look at Josh. Josh is like
that is $70,000 right there out of the 114.
Right.
And then we had got a new Infinity.
My student loans.
Your student loans were about 28.
Like 28.
You see, you should have went to whatever school. What school you went to, brother?
Albany.
Yeah, go to Albany. You should have went to Albany.
Yeah, well, Hofstra's a private school, so that's why it was
and
so
she went
much.
there for her master's.
And I went for my master's. So.
Shout out to Albany, man.
That was my undergraduate.
My undergrad was cheaper, but my
then I got a new car when I moved down to Dallas because people was like, oh, you're a director, you're getting paid more. Dallas.
You turned 30.
I turned 30. You should get a new car. So what I go and do?
I agreed.
You got a new car. What you got?
The Infinity, the Q50 Infinity Sport Hybrid.
Ooh.
Beautiful car. Still got it. Paid off. Love it.
Gotcha.
And then rest of it was just like credit card debt. So that was like a couple like 4 to like 7,000.
Let me tell y'all something. There are married couples that if they had $5,000 in debt, there's some interesting conversations that's going on behind closed doors. I'm curious to know what were and you guys have been so public and so transparent about, you going through this, and I'm sure it's helped a lot of individuals who are also in a similar situation. What were those conversations like as you're chipping away at that debt? Because like Anthony was talking about earlier, there are seasons, right? There are certain things that you can do while you're going through that process. There are certain things that you probably would like to do, but you have to put on the back burner, right? I'm sure there's certain nights where you're probably looking at him. He's probably looking at you like, hey, listen, I wish you would go and buy X, Y, and Z and add on to this, right? What was that like, if you don't mind me asking?
No, absolutely. We can tell you. Like I said, he brings the ideas to the family. So he brought it to the family. I'm like, for what? Like, why are we paying off debt? What is this even about?
Because we just got married in May of 2017.
And we started January 2017.
And our debt, we didn't have no debt from the wedding. We went into the wedding with no debt. And then, what you were saying?
So then we started 2017 with me saying I want to travel more and save more. And he's like, that don't make no sense. Like, you got to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
He started listening to podcasts, reading books, things like that, and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, but I don't see the reason. Like, you know, we're doing fine. Ain't no reason to pay off the debt. Maybe we'll pay it off years later. Then finally, I kind of bought into it by like February. I'm like, sure, this is what we'll do. But this is a contract you need to sign of how this will go.
A contract?
Yeah, a contract. That I had him sign of how it will go.
Okay.
The contract consisted of, one, that you won't kind of like look down on me because you're the one getting the information. So like we should be able to communicate. 2 was, I'm a crazy Beyonce fan. It said if she went on concert during this payoff time, we have to go regardless.
That is.
She didn't
go on concert. She didn't go on tour.
She got pregnant. So.
Yeah. She didn't go on
Man,
tour.
was in the background like this, wiping the sweat off his forehead. He's like, God is good.
I think the other
Shout out
one was
to
like
Jay-Z.
about like us traveling. We were planning to travel to Greece, and I said that we'll still be able to go. Like that was on the contract, and that was like his Valentine's Day gift. Like, okay, I'm buying into this. Sign this contract. We'll keep it on the fridge, and let's get going. So I think what was the changing point? That was the changing point. Me getting on board. Then also, I think in 3 months we realized we paid off $12,000 of debt, and that was like, okay, I think we can actually do something here. So then it became, let's pay it off by my 30th birthday. And so that's how we got it done in the 23 months. And we started to raise our income, side hustle like crazy. Because of those things, like we didn't want to cut back. I know a lot of people say to cut back to be able to pay off debt, but we didn't want to cut back too much, you know. We wanted to be able to travel to New York when we wanted to. And so those type of things. So we raised our income tremendously.
Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. So now that going back to a point that I had made earlier, like I said, from what I've come to see, relationships, business partnerships, friendships, whatever, it starts with having those complementary skill sets. My strengths are your weaknesses, your strengths are my weaknesses. But what I've also come to realize as well, another key aspect of that is having similar values, right? So I'm also curious to know, what do you think? Because like I said, $114,000 net and just navigating that together and still being able to stand strong today, what would you say has been, whether it's one or a multitude of them, some of the biggest values that both of you guys shared that not only allow you to navigate through that season of your life, but still allows you to have the success you're having as a married couple?
I would say one of the values is us feeling like we can do anything after that. That was the biggest thing. Once we got on the same page, because I think when it comes to like being married, one of the biggest challenges I would say is like talking about money and finances. But for us, we were doing that from before we were even married. Like our first bank account together was like at Chase Bank, and we were putting like $50 into the checking account every single week to like pay for the wedding or something like that. So one of the things I would also mention is like communication. That's been a big one for us. Staying on the same, even if I'm like, we always gotta be on the same page. And she's like, Anthony, we gotta be on the same page. Like we should be on the same page about everything.
Right.
She's like, absolutely not.
I'm like, we don't have to be on the same page.
But at least attempting to try to be on the same page.
Chapter, maybe.
Same chapter, at least be in the same book. On the same shelf somewhere.
Yeah, so we in the same something. We in the same something.
Is the same.
Something is the same.
And she's like, Anthony, we don't always have to agree on this. And I'm like, I understand that, but I want us to at least be in alignment with what we're talking about here. If I want to do something, you don't want to do it, and we may not get on the same page, I want to understand why. Like that's the big one. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out why. Okay, I could back off. You could back off. Let's figure it out. So those are some of the things I would say that we value a lot in our relationship.
That was something we valued, and we started while we were paying off the debt, having family meetings, which became budget meetings. Also checking in with how you're doing in the marriage, checking in with how things are going at work. That was a big thing as well that we found to be very valuable. And to this day, sometimes we're like, we need to get back to that because we're just in passing now. Now things like, all right, you did the budget. Okay, you did this. Like, where that money went? Now, but before, when we were so intentional about it, I think it made such a difference. It was either like once a month, it's like on the calendar, family meeting, and we discussing everything. And so that also helped keep our values and things in line as well.
And don't stop doing what got you there too. Like we'll
Right.
remind each other, like, all right, we haven't done our family meeting. Let's put it back on the
Remember
calendar.
that? Yeah.
So don't. A lot of people get to a certain point. Is like you stop doing what got you to where you are today. So that's a major one I want to just mention.
Listen, I'm taking notes, y'all. I'm taking notes. I'm getting ready. I'm a little bit of ways away from it, but I'm taking notes. I want to also circle back towards the top of the conversation. Anthony, you said something very dope. You were essentially talking about how, like, you know, we're talking about entrepreneurship, but the biggest thing for you guys in navigating this cleaning business journey and a lot of the people that y'all are teaching is, it's not about, we're not an advocate of telling people to quit their 9-to-5. We just want y'all to have options, right? If I heard correctly, Joka, you're still working at your 9-to-5. You're done.
I'm done. Yeah.
Got you.
December will be 2 years that he's been gone.
So you're done. You're still talk a little bit about that, because we're in this, once again, information age. You go on Instagram right now, somebody's saying something about if you work a 9-to-5, quit, why be your own boss, all these different things. What are your thoughts on that, and why for you are you still navigating the, balancing the 9-to-5 with the clean business? I'm sure you don't have to have it, right? But for you, I'm sure there's probably a deeper reason as to why. Talk a little bit about that.
So I also feel like everybody shouldn't be a business owner. So I think some people do need to stay at a 9-to-5, and that is okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. On the other side of it, do I think that if I wasn't at my 9-to-5, we probably can be further? Absolutely, as well. Because the amount of time that I put into somebody else's business, my 9-to-5, if I put it into mine, what could I do with that? I'm sure I can be further. I would say maybe 2-3 years ago, I would say it had to do with it being my identity, part of my job. I'm like, okay, I paid $70,000 for this degree. I had to take a test after that. I do all these things to get this thing. I'm going to use this thing and I'm going to stay with it. But then now I say to myself, I'm like, even if I quit my job, I can always do therapy. Therapy is going to be around forever. Like, I don't lose my license if I quit my job. That stays with me. So I do feel a little differently about it. And hopefully within the next year, 2 or less, I won't be there. But I'm not anti it, because I feel like there's a place for everyone, right? Everyone doesn't need to be a business owner. But I do feel like you should have something outside of your job, just because you never know what could happen.
Gotcha.
So those are my feelings on it.
Gotcha. I love it. I absolutely love it. Listen,
You agree?
Anthony, Joka, I appreciate y'all greatly. I came on here and listen, I'm about to go start my own cleaning business myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I learned how to operate a marriage effectively with or without debt. We love it. We love it. I want to get you guys out of here, but of course, I want to give you a second to just let the people know where they can find you. Of course, if you want to plug the Cleaning Business University as well and talk a little bit about that, the camera is yours. And then just any closing words that you have for any entrepreneurs that are watching as well.
Yeah. So if you guys want to listen to these conversations a lot more, check out More Than a Side Hustle podcast, where we help 9-to-5s create more impact, income, and influence outside their job. Because if you love this podcast, you'll love listening to Joka a lot more on that one. Also, if you want to start, or you're thinking about starting a 6-figure cleaning business without cleaning any houses, check out cleaningbusinessuniversity.com. We give you the full blueprint, and we do some master classes here and there. Also, we have a YouTube. You can subscribe there, The Heartrimony. And also on all social media, The Heartrimony. That's TheHartrimony, which is a play on matrimony and Heartzog.
I love it. 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 And anything? Oh, also, so only The Heartrimony. You guys don't have your own individual.
We do, but we don't promote it.
We do everything together.
Yeah, everything together. Listen, I appreciate y'all for coming through. And look, if you're watching this, I appreciate you too. But what are you doing? If you haven't already, take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right here, right now. Just go ahead, hit that like button and show this episode some love. And make sure you go check out Heartrimony on all social media platforms, the Cleaning Business University, and the Side Hustle Pod. I get that right?
Yep.
Beautiful. All right. And I appreciate each and every single one of y'all for tapping in. But as always, I'm Marvin Francois, Joka Heartzog, Anthony Heartzog. Y'all have been good. We've been great. This has been amazing. And as always, thank you and God bless. Peace.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Peace.
All right.
That was great.
Thank you all for having me.